Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Breer, and welcome to episode 21 of the 11FS Fintech Insider Breakfast Show, brought to you this morning by our good friends over at MyTech, who provide tomorrow's identity verification for today's uncertainty, and uncertainty there truly is. In this show, we bring you the best and the brightest from around the fintech and banking landscape every single day, straight into your homes at 8:30 BST. Today, I am thrilled to be joined again for the second time by Mike Kelly, CEO of Curl. How's it going, Mike?
It's going really well, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. You joined me a couple of weeks ago with Jason Bates from 11FS to talk about everything that you've been doing with Save My Local. It would be really, really good for anybody who missed that last time to, start with what do you guys do at Curl? And then let's get into how it's been going over the last couple of weeks.
So at Curl, what we do is we build an alternative payment method that's an alternative to cash and card. That's built on top of open banking and the instant payment rails that are available across the UK. So when you make a bank transfer to anyone, that's across a network called Faster Payments in the UK, and we're building a consumer payments proposition on top of all that infrastructure.
Fantastic. Busy times for that as well, right? The amount of things that have sprung out of the opportunity because open banking is actually there now is sort of pretty phenomenal, isn't it? So how's Curl doing? What's the 4 weeks been like for you guys in like total lockdown?
So the 4 weeks for us has been pretty interesting. I mean, we're in a phase of the company at the moment where we've been through a pilot that we've been running with a bunch of coffee shops and takeaways. And what we're doing at the moment is we're working on a lot of partnerships. We're raising more capital at the moment, so we're fundraising. And one of the things that unfortunately COVID has had an impact on is it's made a lot of that that deal making process. It's definitely caused some lag. So it has impacted that, although people seem to be adjusting over the last kind of week or so. People seem to be kind of heading back to a little bit of normality. But it definitely it's impacted some of those conversations and some of those processes for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like, quite rightly, I guess, a lot of people have been reasonably sort of preoccupied with everything that's going on with their own jobs or various different things. I think there's probably a lot of VCs who are probably waiting and seeing a little bit in terms of what the impact of this is and sort of where they go. But how are you doing personally in lockdown? You've got 3 kids, haven't you? So
yeah.
I mean, the work must be the slightly less crazy part of the day, hey?
To be honest, we're really lucky. We don't live in London. We live in a city called Winchester, which is about an hour to commute out of London. So I normally commute into London about an hour. But the one benefit of that is that we don't live in quite such a confined space as London. So we're quite lucky from that point of view. And while the lockdown's giving us the flexibility to go for walks, we're able to sort of keep some level of sanity. But yeah, for sure. Having 3 kids confined in a house and a small garden is it's an experience, that's for sure.
See all these people who have been smug with their 2-minute walk from Old Street to Shoreditch for their job. See now what you want a nice place in the country, love, didn't you?
Yeah, so, that's it, exactly.
But yeah, it's thankfully it's a benefit. Like similar with me, living out in Norwich, being able to actually go outside is like a real blessing right now, because I'm just not sure how kids at bedtime, if they hadn't had a run around for an hour, then it would just no chance of getting them to sleep. Yeah. So I mean, how are you getting on working from home? How was that routine working out for you?
So I've got a bit of experience with this anyway. I've spent a bunch of time back when I was doing a bit more consulting, working for startups, working for a few US-based startups, but still based in the UK. So a lot of that was remote work. So I'm fairly comfortable with working from home. The one bit, that I think is a big struggle, I think, for everyone who starts this process, is drawing a line between your kind of workspace and your living space, and how that can create a bit of a blur. And that can definitely put a bit of sort of, psychological pressure on you to kind of create that distinction and make sure you do take the necessary breaks in order to not totally burn out. But as I say, I've got a bit of experience doing that anyway. So it's okay, it's fine.
It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, a lot of people, I've read a lot of things about people struggling to sleep recently, and not just because of the stress, but because of the lack of delineation between nighttime and daytime, because they're just in the same spot all the time. And
Right.
that applies, like you say, to work as well, right? When you sort of you're not working with other people, but you're working on your own. It feels actually more akin to like back in university days, where if I wasn't doing my dissertation, I was feeling guilty that I wasn't doing my dissertation. So
Right.
it's important to, like you say, to get that distinction. If not, you'll work yourself into sleep, basically.
I
So
think employers can do a bit to help that as well. I mean, I think if they spot employees and their behavior is clearly unhealthy, I think it's on employers to sort of spot those individuals and sort of try and help them. Especially, this is unprecedented for a lot of people and they don't have experience from working home. I think, the more that employers can do to kind of try and spot those behavior patterns and try and help people who they think may be sort of not engaging healthily in work, I think is a good thing.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's an interesting time as well. I mean, we could probably talk for the whole show about this one, and I'll move on very shortly. But I mean, it's really interesting because there's a lot of people who are out there now, potentially people watching the show who are on furlough, and actually, the impact that can have for people, because it's both a amazing upheaval in terms of your professional life, but actually you sort of can't go away or get away from it. It must be very incredibly isolating for people during that period. So like you say, there's a huge amount of responsibility on employers to really think about their people first, which arguably should always be the case. But in these times, then I hope everybody's doing that. Lots of great people kind of jumping in from around the world. Charles Lane, good morning. I actually dropped Charles a message last night to say, am I pronouncing your name right, buddy? Because I'm paranoid that I'm getting it wrong every time. But Charles, glad I got it right. Raoul, good morning. Alberta, good morning. Brian, good morning. Dharmesh, as always, good morning. Anybody, if you've got any questions that you want, there's a few that have come through already. I'll pick those up in a second. But if you've got any questions for me or Mike, chuck them in the comments and I'll come back to them in a second. So how's things going, Mike, with Save My Local? For last time we spoke, it was quite sort of embryonic in terms of getting it going, but you guys are putting a hell of a lot of work. For anybody who wasn't listening to that show then, do you want to just give a bit of an overview of Save My Local and what you've been up to since we last spoke?
Yeah, so Save My Local is an initiative that kind of was triggered by Jason tweeting something about his idea that we could use a voucher scheme in order to help small businesses in the UK, many of whom are facing serious cash flow problems. Many small businesses in the UK only have 20 to 25 days of cash flow on hand. And many of the government schemes to produce, capital and financial assistance to these businesses will have a lag of about 2.5 months on average. And so Jason's proposal was to work on a voucher scheme that would allow these businesses to essentially sell their goods and services upfront with vouchers, which would generate immediate cash flow and help these businesses get through this kind of window. Where they need to kind of fill in the cash flow issues. I picked up on this because it's something that we've been thinking about internally inside of Curl and thinking about kind of working on as a kind of hackathon side project. And then when Jason tweeted, it was very clear that it was the time to there was enough people who could put their brains to work to actually make this a reality. So we jumped on it. We put out a call to action to the kind of fintech and broader tech community to ask people to get involved. And we had, within 24 hours, we had, I think, about 20, maybe even 30 people involved. And then within 4 or 5 days, we pretty much got the very first version of the website done. And then we were up to about 40 odd people involved. So now we have about 50 odd people in the Slack channel. We've gone through even a couple of versions of the app that we've been iterating based on feedback from the first early businesses that have got involved. And we're really sort of moving beyond this phase of kind of figuring out whether the product has market fit, if you want to call it that, and moving on to more of a kind of phase where we try and figure out distribution. So our biggest challenge at the moment is trying to get in front of the small business audience, many of whom, are not technical people. So they're not necessarily engaged in social channels actively as a kind of medium for them to keep on top of the small business news. So we're trying to figure out the various channels we can use in order to make these businesses aware that some free help in terms of the voucher scheme that we put together is available to them.
Okay, and what more can people do to sort of help connect that? Because obviously this is this is a thing that could save millions of businesses from going bust over this time period, and every day on this really sort of matters, doesn't it? So for anybody who's sort of watching this now, I know obviously last time the mayor's office was watching, and I think reached out. But is there more that people can do today? Is there something we can do to distribute on social media for you? Is there something we can do to get involved to distribute through our companies? What can we do to help, Mike?
Yeah, so I think any businesses that have a small business relationship, if they have an audience, whether it's a mailing list, whether it's a social channel, if you have a channel that's able to put a message in front of small business owners, we would love to talk to you. So if you just email support@savemylocal.org, we can start a conversation. We have a whole bunch of marketing materials that are ready-made that you can put onto your social channels. We have a press pack. We have all this stuff. We've already been working with a few fintechs. So a good example is Capital on Tap. They were great. They were super proactive. Worked with us, put a mail shot out to a bunch of their customer base. That was super useful. We've had a few leads convert and go live from that. So anybody who has that audience, and then just from a personal point of view, if you have local businesses that you use on a regular basis, and they have their own social media, or the owners are on LinkedIn, if you post to them and then tag either myself or somebody else involved in the project, and we'll follow up, I think it's a more kind of bottom-up organic approach where individuals who just have regular places, local independent places that they go to, can refer them to us. I think that's a really strong, scalable approach that can just work immediately and is super lightweight and everyone can kind of contribute to.
There's a comment here from Adam Tarpey from RateSetter. Have you considered like employee benefits platforms or accountant networks as a way to get in front of SME audience? Have you sort of talked to those types of guys? Potentially, a Zero, somebody like Gary Turner right now, probably a good person to chat to. Gary, I'm not sure if you're watching. If you're not, you're going to get an email later on, my friend. But somebody along those lines would be
yeah.
Good.
So Zero is an excellent suggestion. It's one that I wanted to make sure we got our ducks in a row before we went down the Zero direction, just obviously because their distribution is massive. And so we wouldn't want to waste that message. I think we're definitely in a position where the landing page and the app itself is definitely in a healthy enough shape that now that relationship and that distribution channel will be worthwhile pursuing. So yeah, I mean, if anybody knows Gary, I'm sure you do, David, we would love an introduction so that we can start that conversation with them, because obviously, I mean, they have a massive customer base that
I've literally just started writing the email, Mike. I will finish it after this. So, but yeah, I think anybody on that side of things, I think it's a great point, Adam. I think literally anybody on that side of things would be great. Deval Gore here from the Mayor's office again. Save My Local is a great initiative. Been trying to promote it, including with the Mayor of London's office. We'll add to our newsletters, assuming you're going through the trade associations and chambers as well. Business improvements districts are also a good channel. He's going to send you some more details, Mike. So definitely, like I say, anything we can do to get this out there. Because I mean, the future for this morning starts to feel like like we're running sort of some sort of charity vibe this morning. But the future for business, small businesses, is pretty bleak, right? In terms of where we stand today, in terms of the opportunities for those guys to try and bridge the gap. And like you say, given the government support is not as quick as people need it to be, then there needs to be something to basically bridge this gap between while they're waiting for that, if that appears, and maintaining the way in that what they're doing. So comment here from Dharmesh Misty over there. So Save My Local, brilliant idea, forwarded to a few businesses, especially my local pub. So they just need to email support@savemylocal.org, right?
That's right.
Pubs would probably be a very good shout for this, right?
Yeah, they are. And actually Budweiser and a bunch of other companies that are involved in that industry have set up something specifically for aimed at pubs. And I can't for the life of me remember what that program is called, but it's very similar to ours in a way, except it's it's specifically focused at pubs and bars, and they've done a great job with that, by the way. It's super nice. I was made aware of that by Stripe, actually. So actually, that's one of the things that we've done since I chatted with you. Is the first version of the app worked on top of bank transfers, so it just left the bank account and sort code number of the business, and then the customers transferred just a standard faster payment to the business. Now we've also integrated Stripe so we can process card payments. And we've been, doing a whole bunch of work with Stripe. Stripe have been amazing. Their platform is incredible. It was so easy to integrate. I did the work literally in, 2 or 3 hours. We have an onboarding process for these businesses now. So they come to Save My Local, they sign up, and then they can create a Stripe account and immediately connect it to their Save My Local website within, it takes them about 5 minutes. It's amazing. The Stripe infrastructure is incredible. And when I was talking to them, they mentioned they were also working with this Budweiser program, which seems to be kind of in the same ballpark as us as well.
Stripe are a pretty amazing company, I had to say. Like, I think they're valued. The valuation last week was, what was it, NatWest and Barclays combined.
That's right,
essentially,
yeah.
Which is just insane, isn't it? But they've stayed very true to what they did right from the beginning, which was the most engineering friendly integrations, and it works, right? Like you say, if you could pick up Stripe and actually integrate it into your systems in a day or a couple of days, that's going to be the one you will pick to do because it's the best and it's the easiest. It's just amazing how they've managed to scale it so well, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Stripe's design team are amazing. In fact, the whole of their delivery team are incredible. They're just an execution machine. I mean, Patrick and John have done an incredible job. I mean, even when Stripe was a small company, it was amazing at delivery, but now it's a big company and it's still executing and delivering and shipping product. And I mean, it's a serious force to be reckoned with. I think if you're anybody who's in financial infrastructure, whether that's on the acquiring side or even on the issuing side now, because Stripe's starting to get into issuing infrastructure, Stripe are a force to be reckoned with. Seriously impressive company.
Question there from Stephen Lim. Is Stripe waiving their fees for you?
So we've talked to them about that. It's difficult for a company like that, I think, to put in place fee waiving at that scale very quickly. But that conversation is ongoing. So I think this is completely in Stripe's area. It's just there's some logistical stuff I think that needs to get done in order for that fee waiving thing to actually for the rubber to hit the road on it.
Yeah, it's a difficult ask, isn't it? With I mean, for those organizations, I think you might find, especially if that becomes public, it becomes a real tidal wave of asks for those things. But I've asked a few people over there for you on that one as well. So let's see what happens and if we can kind of get something going on that. Yeah. Question from Michael Fuller. So Save My Local is a great idea. How's the basic curl service progressing, particularly in terms of the consumer side of things? So I mean, how much of a leap from curl to this was it for you? Because I guess you're able to, because of the work that you've done ahead of this, you're able to build this product really quickly, right?
Yeah, so that's actually a really good question. So we've been doing a whole bunch of work with small businesses like coffee shops and takeaways. So we really deeply understand the needs of those businesses and the structure of those businesses and how technical they are, which is most of them not very technical because their world isn't a technology world, it's a people world. So a lot of these businesses really are built on their human connection with their regular customers. And one of the features that we've been working on inside of Curl is allowing these small businesses to turn their regular customers into monthly subscribers. So instead of paying for a coffee in your coffee shop every day, you would actually buy a monthly subscription for £40, and then effectively you get bottomless coffee where you could just turn up every day, and then you just pay using your membership. So we'd actually started work on something that's very, very similar to a voucher scheme, actually, internally in Curl as a product. And this is essentially kind of design work that we've been doing internally. We've just chopped it out, separated it from Curl, and we've just built something completely standalone specifically for this purpose that doesn't require any connection with Curl whatsoever, because we wanted to create that clear separation so that it was evident to everybody involved who's volunteering their time that they're not just helping us expand our product range.
Yeah, There's a comment here from Neil Pontin, Federation of Small Businesses. He has a contact. Neil, drop an email to support@savemylocal.org.
Please do that. So we have a dialogue with them at the moment. So it's a great suggestion, but the more connections we can have into the FSB, the better, because they're the ideal partner for us. So thank you for that.
Lucy Heavens had a point here. I think it was mentioned before, but Martin Lewis from Money Supermarket would be great. I actually exchanged a couple of emails with him, Lucy. Unfortunately, he's unable to get involved at this stage just because of the sheer volume of things that actually he has on the go. I'm continually bumping it to the top of his list, so hopefully we can kind of get him on board at some point, though. So, I mean, Mike, since you guys sort of kicked this off, there's been a lot of other people getting involved to try and help at this stage, not just with Save My Local, but actually just more broadly. It kind of makes you proud to kind of work in the fintech space in the community that we've got right now, that people are in such crazy times kind of giving up their time and their brains to support people that they don't even know. You know, this is a brilliant thing. It's one thing helping people directly within your organization. It's another when you're really going out there to help the community. It really sort of sets, I think, the fintech community apart, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's related to that ethos that runs through the whole of fintech, which is that people think quite in a sort of systemic way. So a lot of the issues with the finance industry in general are not so much that they're less kind of specific cases and more trying to bring about kind of systemic change in various domains and areas of finance. And so I think it's just a mindset. I think it's a mindset of thinking in terms of having broad impact and tackling systemic issues that just kind of creates, I don't know, a kind of a framing, a way of thinking about these problems in a kind of scaled way. And so I think when we presented this, I think it probably rang quite, it rang true with many people in the finance, in the fintech space, because it was an attempt to kind of address a kind of systemic problem across the whole of small businesses. And the whole thing is transactional and relates to fintech anyway. The thing that's interesting to me as well is that we seem to be drawing in not just fintech people, but also just the broader tech community. So there's other people who aren't even necessarily in financial technology, who are just interested in the financial challenges apparent in this COVID crisis, and are just as keen to get involved in solving these problems. So it's just the tech world in general is just amazing. People's generosity of time, selflessness is really it's amazing. It's a great industry to work in.
It is. It does feel like people are really sort of pulling together in this period, which is which is good. And actually, I mean, we sort of said earlier on, there's been a lot of difficulty for organizations very quickly, given, to your point, the 27 days of cash flow that most SMEs have. Then there are a lot of companies that are really sort of at their edge very, very quickly. So anything anybody can do to support across the piece is really, really important. And Deval Gore from London Partners is on absolute tear for you here, my friend. Marcus CTO from FinPoint is also a great contact. They are the fintech delivery partner at the FSB. He's going to intro you two together. So,
awesome. Thank you so much.
Keep the introductions coming, guys. Really, really helpful. Anything we can do to help Mike and the team over at Save My Local will definitely sort of change the destiny, I think, for a lot of small businesses during what is pretty horrific times. So, I mean, how can anybody else, I guess, get involved? I mean, there's so many other problems, I guess, out there for SMEs. Do you think it's as simple as sitting down there and thinking about the problems that maybe your organizations have on their own? Or, I mean, I did a open banking excellence panel last week. You're seeing competitors of each other putting their differences aside to work with each other to actually help people through this period. So is it really just about kind of getting out there and finding out who's doing interesting things and joining in the merry bands, or how else can people get involved, do you think, Mike?
Well, I think it's kind of on a case-by-case basis. It's really up to everyone. If you feel like you want to get involved in something, you should be getting involved in something. If you can spot an opportunity to help in a way that you don't think is currently being is being covered, then start your own initiative. I mean, there is no blocker these days. everybody's online. There's no end of people who want to help and contribute and help you succeed if you have a sort of genuine desire to actually create value. So I would just suggest figure out what you're good at, have a look at what people are doing already. If there are still problems or solutions you think that that aren't being addressed, then jump in and start building stuff yourself. These days, it's really low. It's a low bar in terms of getting something out there to just test whether or not what you're proposing to work on would be viable and they would be interested in. Anyone can sign up to Squarespace or Wix or whatever and create a landing page that you can test the proposition with, and you can do that within a couple of hours. So just jump in and start doing stuff.
Do you think that, I mean, essentially the fintech industry is chock to the brim of entrepreneurs, and by nature entrepreneurs are, they don't just have good ideas, they make those good ideas reality. I guess the thing that we're seeing, with you guys and a couple of other players out there is, it's all good having a good idea, but it's about making it happen, isn't it? So, I guess for those people out there, it's, have that great idea, get it out there, share it. This isn't the time to be sort of looking for, making a unicorn business. It's about getting out there and sort of helping people and making things happen. So
yeah, exactly.
I think the ingredient is always the first step, right?
Yeah, and as you say, it's execution. It's actually shipping something. So the best thing to do is always to not overthink it. This is the case in all startup or all early stage endeavors. Is don't overthink it. Ship something. You can learn a lot by just shipping something and seeing how the market reacts. Often you'll assume the wrong things, but you'll be able to kind of navigate it by getting it into market. You won't learn anything by just thinking about it in a simulation in your own head. So I would just strongly encourage everyone to just pick something, build it, ship it, and see what happens.
Sounds good, and that's probably a very good place to end. For anybody who can help Mike, Mike, tell us again where people can kind of get in touch to learn more about Curl, but also about Save My Local.
So best place to learn about Curl is curl.app, or you can just email me, mike@curl.app. And if you want to learn more about Save My Local, you can go to savemylocal.org or email support@savemylocal.org.
Very, very good. Right, that's all we have for you today. Have a great day, everybody. Tomorrow we have a really, really fun guest, actually. I mean, for anybody who knows me, you know that I do not read in any way, shape or form. Like literally, I'd say in the last 4 years, I've read probably 2 books, maybe 3 books, and 2 of them have come in the last couple of months. So what we've actually got the author of The Barcelona Way, which is this one, and The 5 Steps of a Winning Mindset, which is, both of those books were phenomenal. And they're written by a guy called Damien Hughes. He also wrote Liquid Thinking. We've actually managed to get Damien on the show tomorrow. So check out those books and check out the content around them. And for anybody who doesn't know, I mean, my background is more sports, if I'm honest with you, than it is business, which is why the way I've set up 11FS is very much we're looking at sports psychology, it's looking at quantum qual data, it's about in-play feedback. And Damien writes about this stuff better than I can ever talk about it. So we're going to get him on tomorrow, and I think it'll be a super awesome show. So if there's anything else or anybody else that you would like to see on this show, let us know. At this stage, it seems like we can reach out to pretty much anybody. So give us some random ones and let's see what we can do. Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe, and I will see you tomorrow morning. Thank you very much.
Cheers.